back once again. This is the Wu-Tang podcast. I am Singard Superior. The almighty AR is still on hiatus, as I'm sure all of you guys know. And so with that being said, I have a special guest for this episode to chop it up with me, kick it with me, to discuss yet another album. And that person is Ty Smith, who is an animator. Well, I should say one of the animators for the Samurai Shin series. What's good with you, Ty?
What up? Doing alright?
Cool. And so for this episode, well, you guys already know the title anyway. I mean, if you're listening to it now, you know what it's about.
They clicked on it.
Yeah, you clicked on it, right? But anyway, I'll just say it anyway. So for this episode, it's kind of ironic that Ty, because we were talking when we did an interview for the Channel 10 podcast, and when I was preparing for this episode, I realized that it's kind of ironic that you wanted to do this album because Samurai Shin is a cross between Samurai Champloo and Afro Samurai and everything like that. So maybe it's not that surprising that you will be interested in discussing a RZA album, which for this episode we are discussing RZA's very first album, 1998's Bobby Digital in Stereo. I would say arguably one of the most divisive Wu-Tang solo albums there is.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know that it was divisive. Like, as far as I was concerned, like, I thought it was a hit. Like, for me, I didn't even know the second album came out and shit.
Yeah, well, it's in my circles and just always reading about the album, if someone decides to talk about it, or just vague mentionings of it or whatever like that, in books or whatever like that, and they always talk about how divisive the album is. It's like it's one of those albums that you just like either love or you hate. Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background. So it came out in 1998 through G Street and V2, and it was an interesting time, right? 1998, a lot of stuff going on, right? So you have it's 2 years before the whole Y2K thing, so there are a lot of illusions amongst many rappers when it comes to all of that. Just like Tikal 2000, Judgment Day, Method Man's album, which came out a week before RZA's album, which I find interesting, in November. Yeah, so you have that. It's 98, so it's a year after Wu-Tang Forever, and this album is pretty much a part of that second wave of Wu-Tang solo albums and everything like that. Although I read somewhere that some people actually argue that that the Bobby Digital album should be counted as the first wave of Wu-Tang solo project, since it's RZA's first album, and the same thing with like Master Killer's album, which came out years after this album. But I don't think so. I think it should be counted with the second wave. What do you think?
I would say so. Like, when this came out, it like really didn't even hit. Like, people were all about it, but it kind of flew a little bit under the radar. It's like every time I talk about it, everybody's talking about Wu-Tang Forever and whatnot, and of course all Method Man shit and whatnot. So I mean, when this came out, for it to be considered like a part of the first, I would say it's part of that wave what you talk about.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you remember about the time and everything like that when this album first came out?
Shit, I just remember fucking going to the record store and just seeing it up there. Cause like back then you ain't have no internet and nothing, so I mean you had to buy the magazines to know something was coming out for something to be ready. And I just remember seeing the artwork and I was like, this shit look ill. For me, it was basically I ain't had no real stereo, so we used to play this shit on the Sony PlayStation and just pump that shit up. And that's what it was all about. It's just like listening to that shit, smoking out, and just getting into it.
Yeah, and I too remember those days of playing CDs on PlayStation and everything like that. Kind of annoying because then if you had another console, then you have to try to go out of your way to maybe get another TV or some kind of shit so you can play the game. It was a whole thing. Anyway, yeah, and Yeah, and so I can't think of who made the album cover work, the album artwork, but I know it was a comic book writer, and he certainly looks like kind of like a comic book, um, kind of allusions to black exploitation movies and everything like that. Which, of course, as we all know, in the whole Wu-Tang world, the Wu-Tang universe, whatever you want to call it, Wu Fam, Wu Wednesdays, whatever, that this was supposed to be the soundtrack of, the soundtrack for the yet to be released Bobby Digital movie.
Yet to be released, but you can find like a little, I think it's like 7-8 minute trailer of that shit online. Like it's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah.
It's actually
No, go ahead.
actually titled under his second album was a Digital Bullet.
Yeah, Digital Bullet, and because I haven't seen the trailer in so long, so I watched it last night, and it's certainly a sight to see, and it's also a product of its time. Most importantly, it's just funny, like it just kind of reminds me like Iron Monkey, like when it comes to like the ambiance is like really dark. And everything like that, and RZA is like flying around, kicking people and shit in like these dungy ass alleyways or whatever it is.
The idea was there though. Like I could see that, and I'm like, yo, this shit should have came out because you could see how he thought of this character and what he wanted it to do, and just seeing it, come to life is like, all right, like why did we not have this? It's like why'd you do Man with the Iron Fist instead of doing this flick?
Yeah, and actually, in some of the comments, some people said that why would you do the man with the Iron Fist, and not put out this movie? But speaking, going back to what you said about you chilling, smoking, playing it on PlayStation, I guess some more irony here is that the creation of Bobby Digital, at least according to RZA, came from a really good bag of weed. So for all the heavy weed smokers, I'm sure there are a lot of you guys, since all of y'all listen to Wu-Tang, I'm assuming if you listen to this podcast, one day you could probably do the same thing. You could come up with a character and come out with a gold album based on just having a really good bag of weed.
That shit open your mind.
Yeah, and of course Bobby Digital. He's not analog, he's digital, right? You got the Y2K coming up, so he's also kind of making these allusions to it and everything like that. And also the whole digi formula, right? Because the character, comes about after, smoking this special honey blunt or whatever it is. And I didn't know this, or maybe I forgot, but apparently it's an actual formula that RZA and I guess his people came up with, or whatever like that. But so far as I know, it's like it's a three. Yeah, he said it's not only dust, it's not just dust. It's a bit more than that. It's like a 3-drug formula, and he says he doesn't smoke it anymore. But
right.
But there you go. So. So you have all these interesting things going on, and then I think most importantly, which makes this album so divisive, wrapping up the whole background stuff, is the fact that, this is a departure from, RZA's standard, sound and everything like that, because he begins to develop, develop his whole thing with music theory and whatnot, and what we all kind of saw with the on Wu-Tang Forever, so certain pieces of it. But this is this digital orchestra. He had about, I think, 17 keyboards he used to make this digital orchestra, and he uses very little sampling throughout the album, which makes the album even more interesting and more divisive because of it.
Yeah, I think he even said he like learned how to play chords just so he could do some of the music on there.
Yeah. And yeah, it's with a lot of RZA albums. I mean, I think with every RZA album, it's always an interesting listen. No matter if you care for it or not.
Definitely. Like one of the good things about this is like even if the lyrics ain't hitting, I mean, it's not like a Wu-Tang click ain't ever gonna hit, but it's like sometimes you just listen to it, so you just drown that shit out and just listen to the background music, the instrumentals, and it's like, yo, this shit is fucking hot. And like you could definitely see, the fucking influence he has, cinematically and whatnot. Because it's like that's what it really feels like when you're listening to this. It's like if you take out any of the lyrics, like all this shit can be scenes to a flick.
Yeah, that's true. And but yet and still the album and all of its kind of weird uniformity in certain ways, it's a rather messy album because it's for I think about 21 tracks, it's a fast, it moves at a fast pace, and he kind of takes you through these different, through like a roller coaster of different emotions, right? He opens up with like the kind of braggadocio, kind of Wu-Tangish kind of lyricism, and then you go between those slow grind interludes, and then you just jump to Love Jones.
Yeah. See, that's the thing though. It's like, cause with them some of these blaxploitation movies, it's like sometimes they just put together scenes that kind of don't really flow together. It's like 1 minute dude's fighting somebody, next minute he's like having sex with some chick. It's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, when did this happen? They just want to put that scene in there, but it's like the fucking album follows that. It's like, all right, you up, and then it's like, all right, we're gonna take it down with a slow jam. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, all right, but it works. It's like you still get that feeling in there.
Yeah, that's very true. And he followed the same pattern with the movie. Apparently, he had a 1-page outline of what the movie was supposed to be, like the plot or whatever like that, and then the rest of it was just improvisation. And so, if people wanted to, like, if they were just around, they wanted to hop in on the scene, they could. Which yet again sounds interesting, but for RZA, during this time, I'm just based on like certain interviews, I imagine that he felt like he could do no wrong anyway. The demand at this point, he made, let's see, 36 Chambers, Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, Iron Man. He made several classic albums within a very short period of time. They all were successful. He's riding off the wave of Wu-Tang Forever against the kind of like the whole shiny suit thing with Diddy and whatnot. And then at the time, he's 28 years old. And, he feels like his style is being kind of copied. And so this is another reason why he takes this plunge into going into music theory. And he's also rich. So he can just go ahead and just, put in $800,000 to finance a movie because he couldn't get, the money that he wanted through Hollywood.
Right. See, now that's the thing when you talk about, it's kind of a messy album. For me, I like to call it raw. Cause it's like, that's really what it felt like. It's almost like he was starting himself over, a new beginning. And I think that's one of the best things about it, is because it feels like it has so much texture to the album. You know what I'm saying? It's like some of them tracks, it's like, did they just, were they just rhyming up in the studio and just decide, fuck it, that's a record. Like that's a track right there. It's like all of that together just kind of fits well with the theme he was going for. And, like you said, he put out a whole lot of albums during that time, so he's got money. So he could have overproduced this shit up the fucking wazoo. But he didn't, he knew exactly where to stop. It's what it felt like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, he's like, yeah, this one's good. We don't need to add any more tracks to it. We don't need to add any more fucking instrumentals, no horns or nothing. It's like, boom, right there, it's good.
Yeah, and generally to his credit, he does find a way to still kind of keep a certain kind of griminess throughout much of the album, even though he's not really messing with samples or whatever like that. Which especially for the time, it is pretty interesting in certain in the ways that he plays with different textures and different kinds of sounds to create this this digital orchestra, as he calls it, but still manages to keep it very kind of boom bap-ish and hip hop-ish.
He even mentions it right in the beginning, ultimate break beats and shit. Niggas been doing the same shit over 1,000 years. It's like done with looping. Like, we about to get into some real shit, like some music shit.
Yeah, that's true. And then also he has a he has quite a few features, which I think pretty much all of them are interesting, as with every RZA album. So, what are some of your favorite tracks off this album?
Alright, I think I got about like 5 or 6.
Okay.
Alright, we got to start off, of course, with the first song, B.O.B.B.Y. For me, like, I can get lost in that song right there. Like, I still remember, like, every time I think about this album, that song hits, it lays out the whole stage for the rest of the album. But it's like, I'll just be into the zone and won't even be listening to it because that song just put me into it. And then next thing you know, I'm like on the third song, I'm like, oh shit, what's this? Oh shit, what's this? I'm like, damn, I got lost. But like that song right there, it's like it just puts you in the mood. Like the way it starts, the way it comes in, everything about it, it's just like I'm about to be in for some shit. And then for the next one, we'll talk about fucking Now I See Everything. For me, that one was just kind of like, all right, if you need a single, that's gonna be it. All right, because the beat's good, it's bumping. You can almost play that as like a fucking club track and shit. And of course, you got fan favorite Method Man on there, so it's almost like there's no way this can't get everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You also got a fucking My Lovin' Is Digi. Now that shit that gets me. Cause when I heard that, you know, cause it starts off like fucking, what is it? Like sometimes
yeah.
I find someone fucking like, I hear that and that reminded me like straight up some 70s shit, like fucking The Wiz and whatnot, some Broadway shit. And I'm like, yo, if this dude can pull this off, like he can do everything. And like that lets you realize like where he can go and where he has gone. You know, as far as like cinematically and whatnot, it's like, yo, he's ready to do soundtracks for some movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, Project Talk, just because you know I'm a bit of a sucker for like shit that tells a story. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking what do you call it? Slick Rick, storyteller. Fucking, you remember that Renee song? I think what was it, Lost Boys? Just like telling stories and shit. You know, Biggie, of course, one of my favorites. Like, he's got that one song, Got a Story to Tell. Give Me the Loot, of course. I mean, just storytelling type thing. I'm down with that. Get to the Black Widow. ODB. Yeah. Like, I for some reason, I love that nigga because it's like, he's got a crazy style and it just works. It's like the two rappers I can think of that with a crazy style, like fucking ODB and Missy. And it's like they can just say whatever they want, and it works. And the one for this album that really worked for me, Airwaves. It's a short ass fucking song. It leaves me wanting more. But the thing is, it's like I listen to that and I immediately start getting the vision of what the movie would be like if he actually fucking did it and finished it, completed it. And I think that was like about maybe 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those tracks like really stick out for me. It's like, yeah, when those come on, it's like nothing else. I mean, obviously other ones like Love Jones, you know, because it mixes it up, gives you that feeling. But I mean, it's there. But you know, it's like these are the ones that like really hit. And if I was gonna choose another one, I'd probably say fucking Domestic Violence, just because it's fucking funny. Like. You know, comes in, she's just calling him shit, whatever, you ain't shit, whatever. I'm like, yo, I've met girls like that just like try and break you down so much. They don't just break you down. They break your family down, your friends down. They'll talk shit about your goddamn dog and your cat.
Yeah, haven't we all met women like that? Haven't we all?
Yo, I even used that shit on my wife. Like, our worst argument was that thing, and it's like, after a while, I was like, I apologize, like, I'm sorry. It's like, that's my worst, because I'm like, I did that same shit where I will not let you talk. I will just keep saying the same shit over and over just to break you down. And it's like, I'm sorry. That ain't good.
Well, has your wife ever listened to Domestic Violence?
No. She listened to some rap and like she gets it, but it's like things like that. If I showed her that, she was just like pissed off the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much a damn kid when this came out anyway. So, what I used to do, I used to play Domestic Violence up, and I would play it up like real loud, so I can piss my mother off after a while. That was always funny because you know, like the thing about like my mother and like my grandmother. My grandma was like 80 years old, and just because like the influence of my brother and everything like that. You know, she was well aware of who Wu-Tang was and who Mobb Deep was and everything like that. I mean, she didn't listen to him though, but like she knew about like a lot of like East Coast hip hop just through my brother and him like playing it in the basement. and with the weird smells that were protruding from the basement, which she will always say that he needs to stop smoking that shit. But man, where do I start? I mean, for me, I think that the number one, my favorite song off this album is Holocaust. And I mean, for two reasons. I mean, like for one, it's because of Holocaust. You have the beat, and you have like kind of you have Ghostface and his Cobra Clutch style, Supreme Clientele kind of braggadocio lyrics and everything like that, which is always nice. I love Domestic Violence. That's probably my number two. Bobby Did It, Spanish Fly. I just love how like Is Lord like kind of opens the track up, just like his energy and everything like that. And like yourself, I like Project Talk also. And it's not so much for the story, but it harkens back to Digital Bullet on I think it's track number 2, Can't Lose, and it's like the same kind of style. It's not like a story, but it's like less than 2 minutes, or maybe it is 2 minutes, and it's like a dope loop or whatever like that, and they're just like rapping. And I just always find like those kinds of things that they do together dope. Even like I think with the Sting, the bonus CD to the Sting, and they kind of did like a similar thing on there too with some of those unreleased RZA tracks. I like handwriting. I love handwriting on the wall because Razcast is dope on it. And the thing about Airwaves too is that Airwaves was a part of like a longer song from Sway and King Tech's like Wake Up Show freestyle series. Yeah, it has like Eminem on it and everything like that. I think Eminem and some other people, I believe. Yeah, I mean it's like a 6 minute song.
Goddamn. Yo, yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Holocaust. Like, wasn't that the one that they did like the official music video for?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that. Like, I remember for me that one was like, cause you did the album, got the album cover, got the character he wants to portray and whatnot. But then I started seeing shit in live action. So when I saw the Holocaust video, I was like, all right, this cool. I mean, just like the movie, it's like this cool, but like visually, this isn't what I was thinking. I'm like, I need more. Like that mask that you got on, like I got it. I know where you're going from because it's like fucking Kato and shit from fucking Green Hornet. That shit works, but at the same time, it's just like do something more, do something better because everything that you put together with the album and the visuals, I'm like, it's working, it's there, but it's like it needs a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel you. And the thing about BOBBY is that was like the first single off the album, if I'm correct. And even in '98, I just really can't see that being a single. I mean, yeah, I'm cool. Like NYC everything I can see, but like, I don't know, maybe My Lovin' Is Digi. I don't know, but not BOBBY.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. Like, I can't like see it as a single. Like, not really. But for me, it's like it sets the fucking stage. It's like everything for me is right in there. Like, up and down the beat, the way it starts. I mean, the way it's just like, the anger. Like every other song that comes off the album is pretty much within there in some form or another, like a little piece or a big piece, like whatever. It's like right there for me. So yeah, I couldn't see it as a single because I couldn't see people hearing that and just being like, what? But for me, it was because it's like once you put it in and that's the first one that comes out, it's like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's. I mean, yeah, maybe like. I mean, I do like Love Jones mainly because of the beat, though.
See, for me, yeah, Love Jones, the beat, like every single one of them, the beat. But for me, Love Jones was like the one where I was like, all right, like this dude can get down on some lovey-dovey type shit. I'm like, that's what it's all about. I mean, being 17 and growing up in the hood, all you want to talk about is like get bitches and shit like that. Like we're gonna go out and get some bitches. We're gonna fuck. Like, all right, but fucking RZA's like bringing it down. Like, no, we're gonna love on some queen and shit.
Yeah, the queens that shine like a brand new spanking black Glock.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. It's like get you in that mood. It's like, yo, you could be hood and you could still love a girl. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe I don't know. Have you ever said that to your wife before? She's shining like a brand new Glock. It sounds like it's well. I mean, it's most definitely like it's of the time. It sounds like some shit that like Ja Rule would say to Ashanti or something like that.
Yeah. Nah, see, I wouldn't go that far, probably because I ain't a big Ja Rule fan. It's like when that nigga came out with some shit with Jay-Z, I was like, all right, you got something. And then after he broke off, I was like, what the fuck is this dude talking about?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm most certainly not a Ja Rule fan myself, but I mean, there's some things I can appreciate from him and everything like that. Now, another song that's interesting, although it's not like on the American version, it's on like the Japanese version, is
track 22.
Yeah, Do You Hear the Bells? What I mean, like now, like if you ever like if you get like one of those like bootleg versions of The Cure, the album that RZA has yet to come out with, also, it's usually on there, but it always I always like it always was circulated on LimeWire and shit like that back in the day, and it's just a funny ass freestyle, which when I was doing some more reading. And apparently, because he's the RZA, and he had all kinds of things going on. Wu-Tang, they were going to come out with like Sony was coming out with like a Wu-Tang greatest hits thing going on. I think before Christmas of '98 or whatever it was. And also, RZA was going to try to make he was going to try to remake a Bing Crosby Christmas song.
What?
Right, and just in time for Christmas, and it's called like the Bing Crosby song is called like, Do You Hear Something? I can't think of the name of it, but as soon as I read that, I said, Do You Hear the Bells? And so this makes a lot of sense.
Right on. Bing Crosby. See, now that makes me think of Gremlins. Like, I think, Do You Hear What I Hear? Like, I remember that shit. Like, from I think I know what you're talking about.
Well,
that shit would be coming up.
Well, so whenever y'all are thinking about Bing Crosby and Gremlins, think of RZA, Bobby Digital and Stereo, and Do You Hear the Bells?
Damn, see? And it all fucking connects once again. Everything that he's all about. Cinema, fucking, music, all of it connecting together.
Yeah, man. And domestic violence, like it's so funny, like how Jamie Summers, she just shows up like on these relationship songs, like on Iron Man, on Wildflower, and then she's on domestic violence and everything like that, which is kind of funny. But I can't see any other kind of like Wu-Tang Killer Bee female playing that role. I can't see like Takitha, like Blue Raspberry playing that role.
Yeah. It always kills me when I hear female on there, because I'm like, it just makes me always think, like, why has there never been a female in the group? Like, at least one, like, forever, like, in the group. Like, not just featured on a track and shit.
Yeah, most definitely. Man, well, yeah, I mean, so, generally, when it comes to me and this album, at least, all right, when it comes to RZA albums overall, so Digital Bullet, Birth of a Prince, and Digi Snacks, this is probably my third most favorite RZA album.
All right, what's 1 and 2?
Okay, so the first one, usually, it depends on what mood I'm in, is Digital Bullet. And there are certain reasons why, which, whenever I get around to the episode, I'll get into it. But that was like, I don't know, like I just remember it. I just remember it vividly, and like the experience of me like listening to the album. So I think it's more or less the experience that leads me to gravitate towards that album more so than Birth of a Prince, which I think is a really good album, and I think probably because of some of those, quite a few of those songs, were supposed to be for The Cure, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah.
You see, what you said right there, like how it just fits with you and like what was going on with your life a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like how like that's what you gravitate towards. And it's like that's what this album is for me here. It's like I didn't even know Digital Bullets even came out. With like when I heard about it, I was like, oh, is that a fucking second album? But then I never got around to listening to it. And the thing is, like, you know, now that I think about it, it's like, you know, even preparing for this, you know, interview, it's like I kind of don't want to. It's like this one fits for me. Like everything going back in, you know, my life during the time, like I still remember just like walking home from work and shit and just listening to this on a fucking CD player, just fucking jamming, just like this is my shit. Like I can just listen to it. Like it doesn't have to be anything. I don't have to sit there and be like, oh what? Like it can just be on and like this is good music. Like I can just jam out to it.
Yeah. I can most definitely see that. I mean, yeah, it's certainly not. And you know, I think just this from RZA being a RZA, half the time you would expect like some kind of I'm pretty sure a lot of people did, like, you know, when he first came out with this album, like some kind of complex album with all kinds of you know, syntax or whatever you want to call it, and a whole bunch of weird shit going on. But it's not that. It's like it's actually an easy listen, and in certain respects, it's one of the more easier listens of many of the earlier Wu-Tang, or at least the 90s Wu-Tang solo albums.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, but yeah.
Well, you know, especially after 36 Chambers, because like 36 Chambers, I mean, everybody was introduced to that. And so they're paying attention to every little thing that goes on. It's like every song that comes on, they're like, oh shit. Like this is something new, it's something gritty, something grimy, something different, you know, in the hip hop era. And so now they got used to it. It's like, all right, this is a new album by this motherfucker. All right, and RZA most likely produced it. So it's almost like, yeah, it's gonna be a hit. It's gonna be good. I just listened to it. It's like this was something else where it's like, yeah, you could just fucking, you know, relax to it. Like you don't have to pay attention to every single song, because even if you lose out on the lyrics, like that beat is still gonna be there. There's gonna be something, and it's gonna be new every time you listen to it, because the first time you was just listening to instrumentals. Second time you're like, oh, what? This on this song? Oh, hell yeah, that's my shit. New song.
Yeah. Are there any like other RZA albums that you like?
As far as like RZA albums, I wouldn't say particularly. I mean, like we was talking before, like a lot of Dark Man. It's like that's another one where it's just like it was an impulse buy. I was just in the record store, just like, all right, like who's this? Like, you know, anything that he like produced, I could say, but as far as like RZA particularly, I can't say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about a lot of the Dark Man his first album a few episodes ago, and so did you buy it just because of the album cover?
Pretty much. I mean, it was just there. It was just, like I didn't even know who he was, and I was like, who's? I mean, same thing happened with the Swarm and fucking Killer Army. It's like I didn't know who he was, but basically it was a Wu-Tang. Like let me give it a shot. Let me try it. And so it's like those are 2 albums that I bought. And, you know, or 3 albums that I bought was like, yeah, like I can get down with this, like I can have it on. But, you know, it's like, did I really get into a lot of Dark Man? It's like, it's not like it became my favorite, but it's not like I hated it either. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was there, I had it, I could listen to it, it was like something different.
Yeah, you know, it was, oh, go ahead.
Or didn't just listening to the same old Wu-Tang every day, because it's like, I could put on 36 Chambers, or return to the 36 Chambers and just keep on listening. I'm like, yo, there's got to be a point. We got to straight away open up your mind. There's other music out there. There's more people a part of the Wu-Tang than just these motherfuckers.
Yeah. I saw RZA live. Damn, it was like almost like 9 years ago now, 2008, and it was like he was on his Digisnacks tour, and I was in DC, and I was really hoping that he would have like played something from like his first album, but he didn't. He played pretty much his entire Digisnacks album, and like he did some cuts from like he did his verse from like the 4th Chamber off of Liquid Swords and like shit like that. Which I mean wasn't bad, but you know, I mean I was wishing like for him like to play something from Digital Bullet, but he didn't. Which always happens to me, like these in the concerts. Like I'm always like the type of nigga that loves like one of the deepest album cuts that people don't remember, and I'm just like praying that they'll manage like to play it and shit. And every time I go to a concert, it never happens.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's how it is. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. For me, it's good Cause it's like, all right, I want to hear some different shit. Like, I know your shit, but other times, you know, it's bad. Cause like, I was looking to jam out to that shit with all these motherfuckers in this fucking theater, and we all want to hear that one thing that we all gonna fucking just connect with, and you didn't play it. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, I guess overall, assuming that I know that we had some young listeners. So if you haven't, you should probably check out Bobby Digital's RZA's first album, Bobby Digital in Stereo. It's an interesting listen, and you know, it's yet again, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's one of the more divisive Wu-Tang solo albums. I mean, it got like a three and a half mics in the source. I think Digital Bullet got 3.5 mics, if not 3 mics. And you know, RZA seems like he just can't get like a 4 mic rating or so, like a 4-star rating with any of his solo projects, which is interesting to say the least. But do you have any final thoughts about the album?
Well, as far as the album goes, like, just listen to it. Like, you're gonna like it. You know, if you don't, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. Like, you're gonna like something off of it. All right, even if you only like 3 songs, which is fine. But what I will say about if you go on to YouTube and watch, you know, a little video, yo, when you look at that, you're gonna think something about it. You're gonna be like, what the fuck? You're gonna probably have mixed feelings because if you're into RZA, you're like, what the hell? Like, this could have been better. But yo, just look at what he's trying to do in that. It's like you can see the character that he's trying to build. And so even though things weren't there as far as like, you know, production wise or anything, you know, with like CG and whatnot, you can get an idea. And if you just think like what it could be, you'll enjoy it. Cause I was watching it, I was just like, oh, this is it. But then I was like, but nah, I get it. I get it. Like the fucking money wasn't there. The production wasn't there. Like he ain't know all the directors that he knew today. And it's like, damn, if he could just get that done, like I could see this being something. Like I want to see this shit done up right.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was listening to I think it was Juan Epstein, and they had Ralph McDaniel on, like this. For those of y'all who don't know, he's like this you know, like I'm pretty much like, you know, music video director and everything like that. And apparently he's the one that he had something to do with like the Bobby Digital movie, and he says that he has it or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe he has a copy of it or whatever like that, but it exists and it's around. So maybe one day RZA will eventually drop it, and hopefully he doesn't get like flooded out like his basement did in the 90s. But nonetheless,
Well, either way, if it's old, I kind of don't want to see it. I mean, I do just for nostalgia purposes because I'd get it, but for anybody new coming in, it's like, don't put it out like it's the shit. Like put it, you know, take that as your, like your storyboard and fucking do it up again. Like, cause I can only imagine, you know. That'll
be interesting because then it'll be like Bobby Digital 20 years later.
And that'll be the shit. Oh, also, if you didn't know, there's actually animation out too.
Yeah, I've heard about the animation.
Yeah, so if I was to rate the animation versus, you know, because I think the animation is probably like 2 minutes, maybe less, I don't know. But fucking, if I was to rate that against, you know, the fucking 8-minute trailer that he did, 8-minute trailer has more context to it. The animation is like, yeah, I can see it. You know, it ain't that bad of artwork. You know, of course, the animation's a bit choppy because, you know, they ain't smoothed out. You know, they don't have all the in-betweens and whatnot. But fucking, as far as the story goes, it's like, I'd rather see that 8-minute trailer done up well rather than them redo the animation and shit.
Yeah. Well, y'all, there you have it. RZA's Bobby Digital in Stereo from 1998. Very dope and interesting, very intriguing listen. It's pretty much witty and unpredictable like Wu-Tang is, and I will say that if you want to understand another element of Wu-Tang or whatever like that, listening to a RZA solo project, the man behind a lot of this stuff going on or that has happened within the Wu universe, you should probably go ahead and check it out. Maybe. Yeah, you know, maybe you should do that. You know, if you claim you're a Wu head, maybe go ahead and listen to a RZA album. Because sometimes, every so often, someone will say I love Wu. I'm like, oh, what do you think about, you know, Bobby Digital. I'm like, oh, I never listened to it. So.
Well, let me say one more thing.
Okay,
if you into a lot of geeky shit, some nerdy shit that can be context of nerdy shit like fucking comics and whatnot, listen to that. Cause it really puts RZA out there, seeing how he likes all the shit that motherfuckers don't really talk about every day to day. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking Witches of Eastwick. Shit that motherfuckers wouldn't even think about, but he talks about that. So basically all it is like, this dude is influenced by some shit that you wouldn't think would be cool, but if you just be real and bring out that charisma, then just talk about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what this album is like. It's like you'll hear him talk about Dr. Octopus and whatnot. It's like, what the fuck rhymes about fucking comic book characters? But he did it, and it was on.
Yeah. All right, well, there you have it. This has been another edition of the Wu-Tang Podcast. You can check us out at Wu-Tang Podcast on Twitter. Hit me up at WuTangPodcast@gmail.com if you have any comments. If you want to get on the podcast, you want to kick it with me, discuss an album like how I've been doing with Born King, with Ty Smith over here, or whatever like that. Let me know. I'm always down to get some more people on the podcast to discuss their favorite albums with me and everything, especially Killer B albums. I'm really interested in that and everything like that. You can find me at Singar Superior on Twitter. You can, you know what? You should like my Facebook page because I finally got a Facebook account in the midst of all this digital colonialism, and so maybe you should like my Facebook account so I can get rid of like that URL bullshit that they have going on. I would really appreciate it if y'all do that. Singar Superior on Facebook. Ty, where can people find you and your animation and your artwork and everything like that?
You can find me at TySmithIllustrations.com. If you want to reach me and send me an email, be at TySmithIllustrations.com. All that you can link to my Twitter, Facebook, go from there.
All right, cool. And with all that said, we are out. Peace.
Later.